Pedro was at war, not against the world, but against the most relentless adversary of all, himself. With each new challenge, with every mistake, he condemned himself. His mind felt like an endless battlefield. But what he didn't know, and would soon discover, was that to win this battle, he wouldn't need to fight. He would have to do something far more difficult: stop. For years, Pedro believed he was his own worst enemy. He carried the weight of every failure and the demands he imposed on himself. The pressure to be perfect was ever present, whether at home, at work, or even in the rare moments of rest. Even when everything around him seemed calm, his mind would not stop. It was like an invisible war that no one else could see, but one that slowly consumed him. The question that echoed in his mind was, what if, instead of fighting, I could finally find peace? But where was that peace? How could Zen provide the answer? One day, desperate for relief, Pedro heard about a master named Jin, a monk famous for guiding those lost in their own internal battles. Pedro didn't hesitate. He decided he had to find him. Perhaps Jin held the key to silencing the chaos he felt within. When Pedro arrived at the temple, the silence was almost deafening. The atmosphere was a calm he had never known, the opposite of his inner state. The garden was surrounded by bamboo trees that swayed gently in the wind, as if each leaf was in perfect harmony with the moment. He found Master Jin meditating in the middle of the garden and hesitated for a moment before sitting in front of him. Pedro still didn't know what to say, but before he could even form a sentence, the monk slowly opened his eyes, as if he already knew everything that was happening. Jin smiled and broke the silence with an unexpected question. "Why do you fight so much against yourself?" The master's voice was calm, almost hypnotic. Pedro froze. How did the monk know? He hadn't said a word. It was as if Jin could see directly into the conflict Pedro was trying to hide. With no other choice, Pedro began to open up. "I just want to be better, to do everything right, but it never seems to be enough." The master remained silent, listening intently, and then gently asked, "When you're alone, do you still fight?" The question caught him off guard. Pedro furrowed his brow, confused. "Fight? No. When I'm alone, I'm just with myself." The monk nodded slowly, as if this response confirmed what he already knew. Then why does the presence of others stir up this war? If you're at peace when you're alone, why do you carry the fight with you everywhere? Pedro's mind was spinning. He had never thought about it that way. Slowly, the truth began to take shape, as if a curtain was being lifted. The problem wasn't outside. The problem was within him. Without saying anything more, Master Jin stood up with a calmness that reflected his mastery over his own mind and gestured toward the bamboo surrounding them. "See how the bamboo bends with the wind? It doesn't resist, it adjusts." Pedro watched the bamboo stalks, swaying gently with the breeze. They were strong, yet flexible. "The bamboo doesn't try to be like the rock," the master continued. "Its strength lies in its flexibility." Still seeking to understand, Pedro asked, "Are you saying I should be flexible?" Jin smiled again. "Yes, but the flexibility you need isn't for the outside world. It's for within yourself." The master moved closer to Pedro and said, "Stop hardening yourself with the expectations you place on yourself. Bend with your own imperfections. Only then will you find the peace you're searching for." As Pedro left the temple that day, he felt something different. The weight of perfection, which had pressed down on his shoulders for so long, now seemed lighter. For the first time in years, he didn't feel suffocated by the need to get everything right. The real battle, he now understood, wasn't outside. The internal war, that relentless fight to be perfect, was what had truly worn him down. And now, with Master Jin's words echoing in his mind, he knew what he wanted to be. Like the bamboo. Flexible, able to bend in the storms of life without breaking. He finally understood that strength didn't lie in rigidity, but in the ability to yield, to adjust, to accept his own imperfections. The path wasn't to resist, but to flow. So often, we are our harshest critics, our own worst enemies. The pressure we place on ourselves can be more relentless than any external adversity. And what if, instead of fighting against our flaws, we learned to accept them? What if, for a moment, we stopped trying to be perfect and simply allowed ourselves to be? How many times have you blamed yourself for not being good enough? How many internal battles have you fought, trying to be something you believe you should be? Maybe it's time to stop fighting, to accept, to forgive yourself. To be flexible with yourself. What could you learn if today you started being kinder to yourself? And what if the true transformation wasn't about being perfect, but in accepting that you're already enough? Maybe the answer lies in the same place Pedro found it, within you. If you connected with Pedro's story and believe that these reflections on Zen can help others find inner peace, don't hesitate to share this content. Give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories and teachings that transform lives. Share it with someone who needs to stop fighting against themselves and help spread this message of acceptance and flexibility. Your participation helps us keep bringing wisdom and inspiration directly to you. Like and subscribe so you won't miss the upcoming videos, and stay connected with our community focused on personal growth and well-being.